Hello and welcome to eBay with Chris. Of course, my name is Chris. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 systems that I have implemented in my business to help me become more successful. Let's get going. Okay, so first, let me define what I think a system is. Okay, so I use the word system, but you can use any number of words to kind of describe or define what this is. You might call it, this is my eBay process or my eBay procedure, or maybe it's even a routine, something that you do on a regular basis to help grow your eBay business, or a habit, or just a way of doing something. So you can use whatever word you want, but it's essentially a way of doing something consistently, or a system that you have in place in order to help you grow your business. Okay, so now let's talk about the purpose for having systems, processes, routines, habits, whatever you want to call it. Oh, by the way, tell me in the comments below, what do you call it? I call them systems. What name do you have for it? So the first thing is time management. If I have a routine or a system for sourcing, for example, it helps me with my time management. It helps me know that I'm going to go out and source on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays every single week, and I'm going to go to 3 or 4 different locations or stores to try and find items, because I have a goal of, let's say, finding 100 items, and I know if I go out for about 3 hours, I'm going to find between 30 and 40 items. If I do that 3 times a week, then I can consistently get 100 items that I need. So it's a good way of time management. Instead of waking up in the morning and saying, oh man, what do I need to do today? You already know, because it's Monday. You're going to go sourcing for 3 hours. So it also helps with efficiency and productivity. For example, when you are taking pictures, you have a system for taking pictures. So you know exactly how you're going to do that. So for me, for example, I know exactly how I'm going to lay out my shirt or my pants. I know exactly how many pictures I'm going to take for pants. I know how many pictures I'm going to take of a jacket. I know exactly what I'm going to do. There is a routine for it, or a system for it. So it really helps me to be more productive in that time. And then let's talk about scalability. So if you have systems in place already, then you can begin to scale those. Over time, you'll get faster and faster and faster at each one of these systems, and so you'll be able to scale them. Well, instead of sourcing for 3 hours and getting 30 items, maybe you source for 3 items and you're getting 40 or 50 items, just because you are better trained, more knowledgeable, you know what you're looking for, and you can get in and out of stores a lot faster. Systems are really important for scalability. Also, if later on, if you want to add employees or things like that, having systems in place will really help you scale when you do that. Systems also help you with better decision making. For example, when I'm sourcing, I have a system in place so that when I am trying to determine if I want to buy an item or not, I can look and I can do the research. I can see the sell-through rate. I can see the selling price. And based off of parameters that I have in my business, I know that I can sell this thing or I don't want to sell this thing in my business. So it helps me to make better decisions. Instead of thinking, boy, can I do this or can I not? I have basically a yes-no process in my head for whether or not I should buy an item. Systems also help me look for defects. And as you know, and as I've shared in the past, I am prone to overlooking defects in items. So having a system in place really helps me look for defects. Not only am I looking for stains and tears and holes, I also inspect the zippers. I make sure both sleeves are fully intact. I'm looking at the interior lining for cracking or other issues. So it really helps me to look for defects on an item when I have a system in my head. Systems also help you minimize errors. For if you have a great system for your inventory storage, then it's less likely that you will misplace an item. I have a custom SKU system for my storage, and I know exactly where an item will be. I think out of the 1,000 of items that I've sold, I probably just misplaced one item. I couldn't find it. I don't know where it went. I think it was an item that probably got returned, and somehow I put it in the wrong spot. I assigned it the SKU number when it came back. However, I didn't put it back in the right location for that SKU number. I must have just, I don't know where I put it, so I can't find that one item. So having systems in place, though, will help you minimize errors. Of course, having systems in place will help you with customer satisfaction. If you have a routine or a system for responding to customer questions or responding to offers, like let's say, for example, your routine is to do it every morning while you're drinking your coffee from 7 a.m. to 7:30, you're responding to all your customer questions. It really helps with customer satisfaction. Also, for me, a big part of having systems in place is to train other people. I've had this, I've needed help a couple times for shipping items out. For example, last summer, I decided to go on a 3-week road trip across the United States from Washington to Florida. We hit a bunch of national parks, and it was a really great time. I kept my store open, and I trained someone to do my shipping for me. So they came in 3 days a week, and they would pull all the orders, ship them out. And because I had good systems in place for the storage of my inventory, as well as how to ship things, and as well as like my packaging items, how to print labels, I had those systems in place so I could easily train someone to take over that part of the business for me. And it went perfect while I was gone. So smooth. I was so excited. And then in October, I had an emergency. I had to go to Florida for a week, and I was expecting to be back on a certain date. I think it was like October 10th or something like that. And so I had my store on vacation mode so that people could still buy things, but then I would ship them when I got back on October 10th. Well, Hurricane Milton came in, and I was stuck in Florida for another week. And because I had this person that was trained, I gave him a call and said, "Hey, I'm stuck in Florida. Do you mind going to my house and shipping these items that are due to be shipped out?" And she said, "Yeah, I can do that for you." So it worked out great. And I was able to keep those customers happy because I had those systems in place and a trained person that can step in and do it for me. So these are some great reasons to have systems. What are some reasons that you can think of that you have systems in place in your business? Okay, so let's talk about sourcing systems. Please tell me in the comments below, what are your systems for sourcing? So for me, for example, I will go to the Goodwill bins 2 times a week. My goal is to get 140 items every single week that I can list and flip for sale on eBay. So I will go to the Goodwill bins, and I will typically spend about 4 to 6 hours at the Goodwill bins. And when I do that, I know that I can consistently come home with roughly 60 to 80 items, somewhere in that area. My goal is to exceed the 50-pound mark because at that point I can get a discounted price on the per pound rate at my Goodwill bins. So it goes from like $1.99 to $1.59 per pound. And so if I can exceed that 50-pound number, then I know I can save a bunch of money. So that helps me keep my buy cost even lower than it is. So when you're sourcing, what are your routines? It's really important to have a regular routine. For example, I like to go on Mondays and Wednesdays. What are your sourcing days? Do you go 5 days a week? And do you just go for a couple hours, or what works for you? But whatever works for you, this system or routine or habit that you have, this is what's going to help you stay consistent in your business and help you grow your business. And then maybe eventually you could actually train someone to do this. Although I think training someone to source for you would probably be the most difficult thing to do. Having a regular routine also helps you stay focused. Like if you wake up on a Monday morning, which is your sourcing day, and you're like, "Oh, I don't feel like doing it." Of course it's our business, and we can not do it if we're not feeling well. But if you have a good, solid system or routine, you wake up on Monday and you go, "Okay, today's sourcing day. Let's go shopping. Let's have some fun." It helps you stay focused. Also for me, I'm just looking for clothes, and I can easily get distracted by kind of fun items like video games or Legos or things like that. I'm like, ooh, ADHD, and I want to go look at those other things. But when I am focused, when I have a system, I know exactly where I'm going to go at that location and exactly what I'm going to look for. I can put my blinders on and hopefully ignore some of these potential distractions and really stay focused when I'm sourcing. Also, having a good system helps you with your research. Okay, I know how I'm going to research an item. I'm going to pull up my eBay app. I'm going to search for the item in the app, and then I'm going to see how many are currently for sale. And then I'm going to filter for sold, and I'm going to see how many sold within the last 90 days. And that gives me a approximate sell-through rate for that item. And then I'm going to go ahead and look at the price for that item and see, is it within my parameters to buy it, yes or no? So that's the number fourth point, is you have buying parameters in your system. You know that, okay, you want a certain sell-through rate. For me, it's like 50%. I'm okay with a 50% sell-through rate, which in this example would mean, let's say there's 1,000 items currently for sale. Within the last 90 days, 500 have sold. That tells me it has a 50% chance of selling within the next 90 days. So for me, that's acceptable. And then what's the going price? I like to see it over around $18 to $19. Higher than that, of course, is even better. But that's kind of my low. If I see a bunch of items selling in the $13, $14, $12 range, I'm going to say no to that item and pass on it. So I have buying parameters. It helps my decision making. It helps me move faster through items as well. Also, when I'm sourcing, if I have systems for looking for defects, as I told you before, I am prone to buying things with defects. It just happens. I'm terrible at it. I shared the story of buying a Wrangler button-down shirt that had a sleeve that was basically tore off at the point right here, and I didn't even notice it because I was so focused on making sure it had all the buttons. So crazy. So anyways, now I have a routine where hopefully I will make less mistakes. I look at the buttons, I look at the zippers, I test all those. I'm looking for stains and holes. I'm making sure it has both sleeves, making sure that the collars are intact, looking at the interior lining if it's a jacket. So I have a number of processes in my head for looking for defects. And then if you have sourcing systems, you can also get a consistent quantity every single week because you have that routine. You know that if you go sourcing X number of days, like let's say 3 days a week, you can probably bring home 30 to 40 items every time you go out. Most likely you can source around 100 items per week. And if that's your goal, that's perfect. That's what you need. So tell me in the comments below, what are your sourcing methods or your sourcing routines or your sourcing systems? Okay, so another area that I think is really important to have a system for is your pictures. First of all, you want to make sure your pictures are good quality. Obviously, you want good quality pictures so that your customers on eBay can see the pictures and look at all the pictures. Hopefully, they look at all the pictures, right? They often do not. But they look at the pictures. They want to buy the item because you have good, clear pictures. And so that's really important to have quality pictures. And if you have a system for doing that, maybe you have a nice photo station to take your pictures. You know, I use a vertical flat lay, which is basically a board that's kind of at a slope so that I can put my clothes on that item. It lays fairly flat, and then I can get over that with my lights really nice and take some pictures. And so that really works good for me. Now, the next thing is that I want to make sure the pictures have all of the information that I need in order to create the listing. So let's talk about like a jacket, okay? So I'm going to take a picture of the front of the jacket, zipper closed. You can see basically the jacket. Then I will unzip the jacket and I will open it up so you can see the inside of the jacket. Then at that time, I'll go ahead and take pictures of the labels. I'll get a picture of maybe the main tag, and then I'll get down and see the material and the care tags as well. You know, so I get all of that information so that when I'm creating the listing, I know what the materials are. Does this jacket, is it down-filled? Is it nylon? You know, I need to know that information when I'm doing the listing. Say one of those tags is missing. Of course, I won't take that picture, but I might take a picture of where the tag was torn out so that I know that tag was missing and I didn't accidentally miss taking the picture. You have a good routine for taking pictures and you're less likely to make a mistake or miss one of the important pictures that you need. Another thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and zip it back up, and then I'll take my measurements. So I measure across the chest, I measure the length from the shoulder down, and I get those pictures. And then I'll take some details of the item itself. I might take a close-up of a pocket or the sleeve. I'll look for any defects and take close-ups of those as well. Maybe it's a stain or a small tear or something going on. So I'll take pictures of any defects, and then I'll flip the item over. Again, I'll take a big picture of the back of the item, and also if there's any defects on the back, I'll go ahead and take close-ups of those as well. Then the last thing I do is I fold up the item and I insert it into a bag. I put the SKU number, I put the item on the scale, and also I put whether it is a men's or women's or youth size. And I will also put a little ticket that has the color of the item as well, because sometimes the color doesn't show correctly in the pictures, especially if it's like a brown khaki or kind of a green olive. Sometimes they're hard to tell. So I will actually put a tag right there that tells me the color of the item. And so I know when I'm doing the listing, okay, this is a green jacket, it's a men's jacket, you know, that kind of thing. So that really helps me do the listing. So it has all the information that I need. Also, when you have a system in place, you know exactly what pictures you're taking for every single item. It helps you with your efficiency and your speed. You don't really even have to think about it. You just start taking pictures. You put the item down, you start taking your pictures with the measurements, and then the inside and the outside, the back side, the close-ups, the defects, and it really helps you speed through it. I also do my pictures in batches of 20. It gives me something to look forward to. Like, okay, I got my ADHD kicking in around number 15 or 16. I know I only have 3 or 4 more left. Chris, you can push through this. You can finish these 20 and get it done. It just helps me with my process. Again, for number 4, when you're doing it this way, it helps you reduce errors. I'm less likely to miss a picture. You know, occasionally I'll get distracted by maybe the stains on the front of something, like maybe, oh man, there's a couple stains here on this jacket, and I'll totally forget to take pictures of the measurements. And so I have to go back and take pictures of the measurements when I go to do the listing. And so that's really frustrating. So, you know, when you have a routine, then you're less likely to make those mistakes. And finally, if you have these systems, you can train someone else. Over the summer, my teenage daughter was with me, and I trained her how to take pictures for me so she can make a few extra bucks, and so that I would have more time to do other things. And so that was really helpful as well. I was able to train her, and what I found is that I missed some important points in some of my training because I would get the pictures back, and I would say, oh, wait, this got missed or that got missed. And so then it gave me an opportunity to refine my procedures so that I could train someone else more effectively in the future to do the pictures for me. So tell me, what are your systems for taking pictures? I'm curious to hear what you do. Okay, so another really important system to have is storage. How do you store your items? Tell me in the comments what works best for you. You know, I have my own system. I use a numbered SKU system, and I put everything in numerical order in boxes. It's really easy for me to find. They're on shelves, and I can quickly find these items. I know you can have different systems, and that's totally okay. The important thing is to have a system that works for you. I also use bins. I have a few items like a few shoes and hats and things like that. I actually put those in bins just because those items don't fit properly in my numbered SKU systems. That's mostly designed for clothes that I can fit into a certain size bag, fold up, and easily put into these boxes that I almost use like drawers. I can pull out and pull the item out very quickly. You've probably seen other YouTube channels with big time clothing sellers that use a system that's similar to that. That's where I got the idea. I kind of copied them, and it works really well. But you may use bins. I have bins. I have 3 bins that I use for hats and shoes, and that works great. Some people might use shelves. You might have numbered shelves like shelf A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, and you put those items on your shelves. Some people will just kind of organize them together. They'll have a bin for Legos. They'll have a bin for G.I. Joes. I don't know. They'll have a bin for lamps, or maybe a shelf that they put all their lamps on, or maybe a shelf that they put all their glass vases on. You know, so what is your system? The important thing is you want it to be easy to find, right? So the most frustrating thing for me when I first started was I was so excited that I got a sale, but it took me like 20 minutes to find the item, because at first I was just throwing things into a bin. It was basically unmarked. I had multiple bins or boxes, and I was like trying to find the item that sold. And so it was making me crazy. And I almost dreaded making a sale because I knew I had to go try and find it. I want making a sale to be exciting. Right? You want to hear that cha-ching and say, oh, great. Tomorrow I get to go get that item, put it in a bag, and ship it to my customer. So having a system makes it easy to find. You can ship it quickly. It's great for customer service because you know that you can ship it to them next day if that's part of your routine. For me, I ship every single day. So that's, or at least Monday through Friday. And for me, that's part of my daily routine. I get up in the morning, get myself a cup of coffee. I go pull my orders, ship them out, head to the post office, and then I can work on the rest of my day. So that's part of my routine for shipping. But it really makes customer service really easy when you have an effective storage system. And then finally, you can train other people, right? You can train other people to pull your orders if you have a good storage system because they don't have to try and find it. They know exactly where it is. If it's in bin A2, they can go find it in bin A2. If it's on shelf F3, they can go find it on shelf F3. It won't be that difficult for them to find it. If you have a numerical SKU system, they see the SKU and then they search your shelves for that SKU number and boom, there you go. They can ship it out. So it's really easy to train other people when you have an effective storage system. Tell me about your storage system below. I would love to hear it. Okay, another area that it's really important to have a system around is your listing. Again, what is your listing routine? What is your listing habit or system? How many listings do you want to do per day? What is your goal? So I will typically do like one batch of 20 listings per day. Sometimes I will do 2 batches. It all depends on what's going on during the day. And because sometimes I'll do 0. But again, it's good to have a routine to get your listings done on a consistent basis. But it's also good to have a routine or systems for actually doing your listings. For example, consistent titles. For me, I do clothing, so I have a consistent title template, if you want to call it that. I like to have the brand, the item, the gender, the size, the color, and then other descriptors. So for example, I might have an REI jacket, men's large, green, and then I might use words like rain shell, Gorp core, whatever else is going to describe that jacket, but it's consistent. The first 5 things are always consistent. So that really helps me just to knock it out really fast. Also, item specifics. Do you have a routine or systems for filling out your item specifics? Which ones do you always fill out? Which ones do you typically ignore? Defects and condition notes. Do you have a system for that? Yeah, I always want to make sure I have a template for my condition notes if there's no specific items to call out or defects to call out. But otherwise, I might say, you know, there's a tear on the right sleeve or a stain by the right front pocket, you know, that kind of thing. And then I'll copy that into the description as well. So there's a system for that. When you're doing your description, do you have a template that might maybe has some of your basic things that you want to say in there, some disclaimers or whatever? I do have a basic template for my description. I keep it really simple. It's basically a duplicate of my title and then any condition notes and then kind of a basic disclaimer that says, hey, this is a used item. Make sure you check the size and the description and blah, blah, blah. Pricing. Do you have a system for your pricing? Like I will look at eBay suggested pricing, and then depending on the item, if the item is in great condition, I will go above that suggested pricing by like maybe $4 or $5, and then I'll put a minimum price for underneath that suggested price. If my item does have some defects to it, I'll probably put my top price at their suggested price or below, and then have a minimum like maybe $3 or $4 or $5 below that. So I have a system for my pricing. Also for your shipping method, do you have a system for that? I have created a number of shipping policies. So I just look at, okay, how much does this item weigh? Oh, it is 13 ounces. So I select my 13 to 15 ounce shipping policy and boom, I'm done. And then finally, the main reason for having systems for listing is so you can train others. I don't know about you, but listing items is my least favorite part of eBay. It's the most important part probably, but it's my least favorite part. It's just that ADHD in me. I just get so distracted so easily. So it's really important that if you want to be able to pass this job on to someone else, that you have a system so you can easily train other people. And that's what I did. I actually work with a listing agency, so they do most of the heavy lifting for me. They create the draft that has all the information. I can give it a quick review. I might change a little bit about the title. I verify that they added the defects in there. I'll give it a price, and boom, it's done. So it typically will take me less than a minute to review the draft listing and create it, whereas it might take me 3 to 5 minutes, depending on my distractions, to actually create a listing myself. So for me, it's really worth it to have a listing agency. I'm on a plan with them where they will do 400 to 600 listings in a month, and I can easily give them that many items every single month so that they are knocking them out, and then I'm just reviewing the drafts and getting that done. I'll go ahead and post a link to that listing agency below. You can check them out. They're really super helpful. Lee and her team are really great to work with. And so if you're curious, go ahead and hit that link and reach out to them. Tell them eBay with Chris sent you, and they would be glad to help you and maybe talk to you about what kind of services they can offer you. But for me, it's been a really great help. Okay, so another system I have is shipping. I already mentioned this, but I like to ship every single day. It's kind of the first thing that I do when I get up. I will go out to my garage, I will pull my orders, I will print the labels, and I will package them up. I will put everything into an IKEA bag, put it in the back of my car, head to the post office, drop them off, and then I'm done shipping for the day. And that's what I do Monday through Friday consistently. I get it done. I really enjoy shipping. It doesn't take much brain power in the morning, so I can be half asleep and still do it. Because I have systems in place and processes, I don't really have to overthink things. I can quickly ship them out. Occasionally, I'll have an item that is harder or more difficult to package. And then, of course, I have to think about, oh, how am I going to ship this? I have to find the right box or whatever. But most of my stuff just goes right into the same kind of packaging. It's a poly mailer. I just shove it in there, put a label on it, and call it good. So again, that's part of your system. So not only do you want to have consistent days and times, how do you pull your orders? I have a SKU system, so I pull my orders in the order of the SKU, and so that they're in numerical order, and I put them that way in the box that I'm putting them in as I pull the orders. And then when I print out the labels, I actually will print them also in numerical order. So it's really easy for me to find the right label, match it up with the item, and put that label on the package and put the item in there, and they're good to go. I don't get confused, or I'm not like trying to figure out, okay, wait, whose label or what item belongs to this label. It's really easy. It's an easy system for me to have to be efficient and fast and make sure I don't make mistakes. It's also important to have a shipping station. So for me, I keep it very simple. I have one package, which is a poly mailer. It's kind of a larger one, so I can fit anything from jackets in there to jeans, but also small t-shirts go in there. It's honestly overkill for some of the smaller shirts and clothing items, but I'd rather just have one and then have, multiple different sizes and trying to figure it out. I buy this one in bulk quantity so that I get a really good price. So it's actually cheaper than even some of those smaller poly mailers that I would get. So it works good for me. But again, what is your system? What is your process? I rarely need a box. Occasionally I have someone that orders maybe 4 or 5 items and I want to throw it into a box because it won't fit into a poly mailer. So in that case, I do have a selection of odd and end boxes that I'll go grab one and throw them in and call it good. Again, so that's my system for pulling orders and for shipping them. I also have a shipping station. It's not really fancy. It's basically some cardboard boxes laying on top of 3 bins. It's a really good height for me because I'm fairly tall. And I just have my poly mailers there. I have the boxes with the items that I pulled, and I also have my labels. Right behind me, I have my my laptop, my printers. Everything is right there, so I can quickly print out my labels. And so it's very simple for me. I pull the orders, I go to my laptop and print the labels, and then I put everything in packages and it's good to go. So it's very small, compact area and very efficient for me. The other thing is I can easily train other people. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I have a friend who lives locally, and whenever I need some help, she's more than willing to come in for an hour or two and ship things out for me. Typically, I like to make sure it's prearranged if possible. Like, hey, I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks. Do you mind coming in 3 days a week and doing this for me? And she's more than happy to do it. And of course, I pay her generously to make sure it happens on time. And she does a great job. She's very focused on attention to detail. And because I have a routine or a system in place, it's very easy for her to step in and follow that. So again, it's important to have a shipping system. Tell me about your system down below. I would love to hear it. Okay, I know I said I only had 5 systems for you, but actually I have 6 systems for you. I forgot about returns, and I think it's really important to address because honestly, returns can come in and then they get thrown into a corner because you don't want to deal with it because they're a headache. Well, maybe that's just me. I don't know if you can relate to that or not. So it's really important to have a system for returns. That way you get them taken care of right away and they don't sit around, get lost and that kind of thing, which has happened to me before. So I have created a system for returns as well. It's very simple. So when I get the item back in the mail, I go ahead and look at it. I open the package up, make sure it matches the item that I shipped them. And then I'll go ahead and go through the eBay process of issuing the refund and clicking relist. Sometimes it doesn't give you the option to relist it for free because the buyer maybe said it was defective or something like that. But if you look at the item and it's still good and you want to relist it, then you got to manually relist it. I'll go into the items that sold or the orders, and I'll click on that item and then go ahead and do a relist on that item. So that's the first thing I do. I refund and relist. And then I put it into a poly bag. I put a SKU number on it. I make sure the SKU number matches what is in the listing that I just created or in the relisting that was done. It's basically the same SKU number that it had originally most of the time. And then I'll go ahead and put that item away. I make sure I put it in the correct place, although I did confess earlier that I made a mistake with that one time and couldn't find an item. So it's really important that you put it away correctly. Someday I'll find that item. And then when I'm done putting it away, I'll go back to my laptop and just verify the active listing, double check the SKU number that I put on it and put in the listing just to make sure. And then I'm good to go. But that's my system to make sure I reduce errors and I put it away correctly and make sure it's not sitting in my inventory without an active listing, right? I'm sure you've been there before as well. Like, wow, I've had this sitting on my shelf for 2 years. No wonder I don't even have an active listing for it anymore. That's the worst, right? Well, I hope that was helpful. I know it was really important for me to create systems as I went. And now not all of my systems are documented. I do have documented systems for like creating a listing because I wanted to give that document to the listing agency. That way they had something to review, something to go off of in order to create the listings the way I want them to be created. And as long as they're following that document, the listings come out great. So it's really important to have that document and to update it as you go along. And honestly, when the listing agency came back and I found that they were making mistakes or not doing things the way I wanted them to be done, I realized most of the time it was a problem with my document. I wasn't clear in that area. I needed to add more information. So it's important to document things as you go along. So I do have a document for listing things. I also have a document for shipping because I've had a person come in and do shipping for me. So I made sure that, hey, this is the process. This is how you open up. This is how you open up eBay. This is how you print the labels. You know, this is what you need to do if maybe the Wi-Fi goes down, how you reboot it in my garage, right? So I do have some documented procedures for them so that they know what to do just in case they can't get a hold of me when they're trying to ship items out and something goes wrong. Another area I have a document for is taking pictures. I do have a basic document that I gave to my daughter when she was helping me to take pictures over the summer. But honestly, I realized that is missing a lot of pieces. And so if I really want to have someone come in and start taking pictures for me all the time, I'm really going to need to improve that document and make it a lot better so that less errors are made, so that the pictures are done more consistently the way I want them to be done. Again, it's my fault for not having clear expectations. It's not that person's fault because I didn't give them good directions. So again, documentation is really important, especially if you want to scale and hire people to do certain functions. You know, I'm not there yet. The only place I've hired someone to do work for me is the listing agency. I still do all the rest of it. But again, if I want to scale or if I want to go on vacation or something like that, it's really important for me to have documented procedures so I can train someone. You know, and eventually I would love to do that. I would love to be able to go away for long periods of time and have my business continue to grow. For me, that's really important. That's something I want to do. So I would need to have really clear documented procedures for taking pictures, for sourcing, for listing, for shipping products out, for handling returns. I need to have all these processes and systems documented so that I can hand the business over to an employee and have them take care of it for me while I'm gone. So anyways, that's a long-term goal. I'm not anywhere close to that, but it's just something to work forward to. Again, tell me what are some systems that you have in your business and how are they working for you? I would love to learn from you. Again, if you want to see my store, you can always check it out. I do have a link to my store below. Also, if you're interested in any of the equipment that I'm using in my business, I have links to a lot of that below as well. Anything from the lights for my photo station, the scale that I use, the printer that I use, the poly bags that I use for storage, the poly mailers for shipping. All that is down there. You can check out those links below. They are affiliate links, but I put them down there to help you. You can use them if you want. I would appreciate it. But they're mostly there for your reference to help you decide what type of items will fit for your business. And finally, if you're just like, hey, Chris, I really appreciate your content, you can always say thanks by buying me a cup of coffee. There is a link below for that as well. I just wish you much success in your business. And if you want to watch more eBay with Chris, I'm going to go ahead and put up a video right here. Go ahead and click on that. YouTube says that's the next video for you to watch, so check it out. Thanks a lot for watching and take care.